This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, today we are going to discuss about data analysis because this is the first session wherein good morning as well as good evening to everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the data analysis. This is the first session we are discussing about. I hope people are coming from different professional experiences. Some people may be from technical background, maybe for IT and all that. Some may be from non-technical as well. So, wherein today I'm going to explain you about the basic outlines of data analysis, what exactly data analysis is all about, at the same time, why data analysis is required for any of the organization, followed by this, why data analysts required for any organization and what kind of skill sets one must be possessed with, and what are the roles and responsibilities, followed by the career opportunities nowadays. So, this is about basic outline which I'm explaining you so that whoever wants to pursue their career into data analysis and all everything so that this will be an understanding session to them as well, because before we are getting into Python, right? So before we were getting into learning about the Python part, right? So what usually Python editor and as well as IDEs looks like, right? So how to write this Python, these things, right? At the same time, wherein if you know about this R programming, right? Knowing about the R programming, code to write R programming and all that. So before I'm going, because of the things which I'm going to take in coming days, because as far as data analysis itself is concerned, so that what is that I am going to explain today about basic understanding as well as the outlines of this. This is what data analysis, why data analysis required, all that. Now, you to start with, basically, we should understand data analysis from a larger context, wherein you understand from a scientific approach. Because if you want to take any kind of decisions in any of the organizations, irrespective of the organization it belongs to, whatever the kind of decisions are we taking in any of the organization, there must be a concrete information followed by the kind of confirmation which is required. So, any organization requires some kind of decision to be taken. For that, there are some scientific approaches which has to be followed, and this is where generally data analysis come into existence. So in this data analysis, whatever the data, it is more relating to data related stuff. There are some data which is relating for a customer is there, wherein someone has to understand the data itself, wherein they have to analyze the data, they need to make data, they have to understand the data what exactly it was, and we are followed by this, what kind of decisions are you taking, are going to take out of the solution, what is that we have identified is comes under data analysis, because this is required majorly for any organizations to get an accurate information, whatever the information related to an application or as well as the kind of business related these things, whatever the accurate information they want, so that accurate information can be identified by them. At the same time, this is also be useful for the people who are in the business development as well as for the marketing related stuff, where if anybody wants to build any kind of marketing strategies over a period of time, or if they wants to know about any kind of marketing strategies and all everything in future, this is something essentially important. At the same time, this is also being used, this data analysis, for the business planning. If anybody wants to do any kind of business plans, if you want to perform any kind of business planning and all everything, this is will be used here in order to meet the company goal, vision, mission, all that stuff. Because any organization wants to reach their goals, vision, mission. So for that, there is a strategy required. If they want to build any business strategy and all, there must be a concrete information as well as the evidences scientifically must be proven enough. Then only decisions will be accurate. So to have a scientific approach over this, this data analysis is essentially required to understand and as well as to perform it. So if you understand in a simple more sense, data analysis is all about examining the data, Whatever the data we have, examining the data is what we call it as data analysis for the benefit of business decisions. In a single line of answer, it is majorly used for the business decisions. What are the business decisions we want to take? To take business decisions and all everything. So this data is being something useful for that. This is what generally data analysis stands for. Now, when you talk about the types of data analysis do we have, these are the different type of data analysis we have. One is about descriptive data analysis, second diagnostic analysis, second, third predictive, fourth prescriptive, and followed by text. So these are the different type of analysis we will be having. So when you talk about prescriptive and all that stuff, prescriptive analysis nothing but what happens. Means for example, if there is any kind of decision to be taken as well as to perform with, one should be able in a position to understand what exactly was happened in the organization and why is it happened. So in order to know that more clear and all that, generally this is being used for. So when we are talking about data analysis part, in reference to the descriptive mode itself is concerned, this descriptive mode is something essentially important to understand as well as to know what kind of data itself is prevailing here and why is this data analysis is something essentially important. Means what happens over a period of time. This is all to explain that generally this descriptive analysis is being used. What happened in the organization and what exactly the scenario as far as the present situation itself is concerned. Whereas the second point we call it as diagnostic analytics. Diagnostic analysis is majorly to know about the root cause. Why is it happened? What was the reason behind that? To know about the root cause and all everything, diagnostic analytics is being used. Because descriptive analysis majorly focuses on the kind of problem, what it was happens, right? Happened. At the same time, diagnostic analysis will tell you about the research, right? So why is it happened? What was the root cause behind the problem which was happened and all? To know that generally diagnostic analysis will be used for. Whereas when you talk about predictive, this is all something relating to future. What could happen? Because especially in any of the business you see, they wants to know about the kind of future predictions. What is that they wants to see in future? Why is it happened? What for what reason it was happened here? And what could be the future future conditions and all, and how to minimize those risk if there is any kind of risk is involved and all, how to minimize that risk. All these things comes under predictive future, all that in a more simple terms I can say. For example, when someone is trying to provide a loan, right? So in any organization, any financial institution, if they want to provide a loan for any of the individual or for people, what is that they see the kind of future risk which is involved in it, they wants to project. So for that, there must be some concrete information about the financial transaction as well as the financial discipline of an individual. So based on that, loans will be provided. This is where generally predictive analysis comes into picture. So descriptive analysis is majorly focusing on what happened. Diagnostic analytics majorly focusing on why is it happened, to understand as well as to analyze the root cause analysis, all that. Whereas predictive analysis, which we need to focus more on the future part, right? What is that are we going to face in future, right? So to know about the future conditions and all, so that whatever the risk minimizations measures, if it is an adverse effect I'm talking about, what kind of risk minimization measures and all everything should be taken will be known about predictive future, predictive analytics, all that stuff. At the same time, when you talk about prescriptive analytics majorly focusing on what should we do, right? What is a plan of action? What kind of plan of action do we require to do in reference to the data analysis part itself is concerned? Whatever the data are we going to use? In reference to the prescriptive analysis and all, what should we do, right? So why are we going to do? What should we do? And how to do about this, right? What is the next plan of action and what kind of solution do we require to provide? Based upon the analysis as well as the evidences we have received so far, what must be the final closure is what comes under prescriptive analysis. Next, at the same time, when you talk about last but not least, text analysis, we call it as. Text analysis means how you are going to understood from the unstructured data. Because, for example, there is some unstructured data which is available in different sources with us and all. From there, how you are gathering the text information is comes under text analysis. So these are the different types of analysis which will be there in data analysis, because data analysis is a larger context. You cannot confine this to a limited one, because data analysis is something very large in understanding. So that these are the different type of analysis one should be, because if you want to become a data analyst, and if you want to make a career out of data analysis and all for your future needs to perform it, one must be knowing about the basics of this description. Descriptive analysis must be known to you. At the same time, we must be knowing about diagnostic analysis, predictive, prescriptive, followed by text analysis, etc. So these are the different types of analysis we have. Now, for what reason this data analysis is being used? So many people will have a question over why are we going for this, right? So for what is the benefit out of it, right? What benefit we have seen about this and all everything. So most of the people will have a question here. So why are we going for this, and what advantages we see here? Right? What are the different advantages we see uh, in reference to the data analysis? For what purpose are these being used in the organizations? Irrespective of the organization it belongs to, because irrespective of technology domain. So why people are using these and all everything? These are the advantages you see. So data analysis is used for better business decision taken, right? So if you want to take any kind of decisions in the business, it must be based on the facts. It's not based on the illusion or something like exaggerating something like, right? So based on the facts, evidence of facts and all decisions if you are taking, so that there will be a realistic outcome which we can expect in a positive note. So to take faster business decisions and all, there must be some facts which has to be established. By performing data analysis and all, this will happen, right? This is point number one. Second, performance issues detection for action making means if you want to make any kind of action, or if you want to take any kind of business actions, or if you want to implement something and all, we have to understand the performance issues as well, right? So because performance ability and performance levels and all should also be taken into an account when we are working on it. This is where generally performance issue come into existence. At the same time, the third point is majorly focusing whoever the business and whatever the business is relating to the customer. For example, nowadays you can see online, right? So different shopping portals were there, right? So different shopping portals were coming up with different offers, different products into the market. So how they know all these things? Because they knows about the requirement what customer is expecting based upon the kind of research what, as well as the surfing what customer is doing online. So these people will come to know. These people will come to know as about the deeper understanding about what are the understanding levels and all everything. So to know that generally deeper understanding, these customer requirements and all everything will be useful. So these deeper understandings is what we need to understand. Means what are the different understanding levels do we have in all everything, to know that generally these deeper understandings will be there here. So this is what generally we need to understand, right? So when you talk about a deeper understanding of customer requirements, so based upon the requirements of the customer, what is that we understood, what is that are we going to take, and all everything will be valid. Next, if you want to know about the kind of potential risk and as well as involves, right? That is what we have to see. So whatever the potential risk and all everything is what we need to understand as well, right? So potential risk should also be known, right? So potential risk should be known here as well. Potential risk must be known here as well, right? So what are the potential risk which is involved in it, and so what kind of awareness and as well as the preventions to make out of it is what we have to know, right? So potential risk is what we should understand, right? So potential risk awareness as well as the preventions and all everything is what we have to see, right? So potential awareness and risk preventions and all everything is what we have to see. Next is about business financial performance understanding, right? So business financial performance understanding means if you would like to know about the performance of, right? So business financial performance understanding is what we should know, right? So what is the financial performance understandings we have is what we need to know here, right? So how this business performances were happening. So you should know about the health of the business is what comes under financial performance understanding, all that stuff. At the same time, this data analysis is also being used for us for cost reduction. When you want to do any kind of cost reduction and as well as if you want to increase any kind of profits and all that, so this is being used for that. Now, these are the advantages wherein you can see if you're talking about data analysis part. One is about data analysis is being used to take faster decisions, business decisions and all. So, but these decisions must be based on the facts what we have established. Point number one. Point number two, performance issues detection for action making, where if you want to perform any kind of action and all, there is some performance issue detections and all, everything should be taken into an account. Now, the third point is that we need to have a deeper understanding of the customer requirements, whatever the customer requirements we have and all that stuff. These customer requirements, we should have a deeper understanding about their perception, expectation, demands, all that stuff. Next point is that we should know about the potential risk awareness. What was the risk which is involved in it and how to control that risk, all that stuff. So for that also data analysis is needed. At the same time, if you'd like to know about the business financial performance, what kind of performance that our business has, health of the business, health of the finances and all, everything should also be known to here. Last but not least, cost of reduction and profit increase, because if there is any manufacturing cost which is involved more in the organization, for example, any operational expenses increases, even though their turnover increase, their profit won't get increased because of the cost of expenses sometimes, or else in manufacturing, I'm talking about maybe operational expenses or operational cost increases, automatically their profits comes down, right? Even though how best the turnover they have made doesn't have any value at all. So these are the advantages. Majorly, we'll have an advantage when we are working on data analysis. These are the advantages wherein we can see here. Now, if you see about the process of data analysis, this is how it looks like. Where first of all, being a data analyst, what is that are we going to do is what the point is. The first is that we should define the questions carefully. What are the questions we want to get answers out of it? Because end of the day, for what reason are we doing all these? Because we need to get answers out of it. For that reason only we are doing all that. So we need to define the questions carefully. This is point number one. Second, we need to establish measuring priorities, because measuring priorities depends on different angles, like high priority, low priority, medium level priority, right? There are a lot of priorities which are involved in it. So one must be knowing about, and one should know about the establishing the measuring priorities is also one of the point. Followed by establishing measuring priorities, we need to collect relevant data, whatever the relevant information and relevant data, which is something structurized and unstructured, both. Okay, point to be noted. There will be some structurized information, there will be some unstructured information will be there. Because if you remember, when I am explaining about different types of data analysis and all, I have told you text analysis, right? From an unstructured format of text also, you have to collect some information. So collecting relevant information from structured as well as unstructured data is also essentially required to become a data analyst. Means the process, what is that we follow and talking about. At the same time, whatever the data we have collected, that has to be analyzed and gathered. Whatever is really sufficient and all, everything has to be gathered and that has to be analyzed as well. So once we have analyzed and all, we need to review and interpret the results. What is that exactly we require? So these are the different data analysis processes one must be known with, right? You need to define the questions carefully. You need to establish measuring priorities. You need to collect data, all that stuff. Once you are collecting relevant data and all everything, you need to analyze and gather the data. At the same time, you need to review and interpret the results, whatever is required here. So this is where generally data analysis process and all everything is being used without having any kind of these things. Now after that, what kind of skill set do we require to become a data analyst, right? So this is the next question. When you want to know about data analysis skill sets and all everything, these are the skill sets which become a, which if you want to become a data analyst, these are the skills required. So one is data visualization is what you must be good with. How to visualize the data is what you need to know. Second, you must be knowing about data analysis cleaning, because how to analyze the data, how to clean the data, how to visualize. For data visualization purpose, normally there are different tools we use, something like Power BI, At the same time, Tableau and all everything is being used for data visualization purpose, wherein to prepare charts, all that stuff. At the same time, data analysis and data cleaning is required. Next, data analysis and data cleaning for the structure of data. What is that you want to perform, all that stuff. Next, one should have knowing about R programming and Python, because these are the two major ones which is using under data analysis nowadays. Of course, Python has more. At the same time, R programming, fortunate enough, both are open source tools. So wherein anyone can use this in their work environment and all. So that R programming and Python are the skills which is required for you. And basic understanding about Excel as well as the level of Excel understanding about this is also needed. At the same time, there is an additional advantage if someone is coming from a statistical background, because this is all based upon the predictions, right? So because data analysis is the one which is used for the predicting things, like what could happen in future and how to encounter that problem and how to reduce the complexity. For that reason, data analysis will be made for any organization. That's the reason why, irrespective of technology domain it comes with, that's the reason why basic statistical knowledge, if anybody is having, that will be advantageous. Because I don't say it is necessary, because to be honest with you, not many people will have any knowledge over the statistics, except people are coming from that educational background. Otherwise, not many people won't be knowing about mean, median, variance, right? So chi-square testing, weighted average, these kind of understanding may not be there for all the people. So basic statistical knowledge is always preferable. If you have, it is more easy for you to understand the things well in advance. That for that reason, actually, this statistical knowledge, all that stuff is required. At the same time, creating dashboards and reports. Whatever the dashboards are we going to create reports using data visualization and all everything will also be used. So these are the skill sets which, being a data analyst person, one must be good and familiar with, right? So data visualization is required, knowledge of it. Next, data analysis and cleaning is needed. Programming relating to R programming, Python is also needed. Excel is required. Basic statistical knowledge is needed here. At the same time, creating dashboards and reports is also required. So these are the skills required to become a data analyst. Now, what roles and responsibilities being a data analyst we do, because most of the people have a question over this. Because if I want to become a business analyst and all, or if I get an opportunity to work as a data analyst, what are my roles and responsibilities? This is a basic question for anyone to get with. The first, because see, do remember, whatever the responsibilities I was mentioned you, very limited, because depends on the kind of organization, based upon the experience what we carry, this will vary, right? It will not be the same all the time. So roles and responsibilities vary sometimes from here there. Now if you talk about roles and responsibilities, the first thing is that uh, you need to have that experience to evaluate the data as well as to establish the data and all that, but make sure the data must be a value and qualitative one. This is one thing. Second, you have to interpret the data sets, because you need to understand about the kind of diagnostic and as well as predictive analytical reports and all that stuff. So that interpreting the data sets is also one responsibility, being a data analyst you have to do. At the same time, we need to identify, evaluate, and implement external services, something like different tools like for data validation, screening, everything is required. At the same time, we should have a capacity and learning ability to know about creation of data dashboards, graphs, visualizations, all that. Along with this, being a data analyst, as you are an analyst, the basic understanding of analyst is to prepare some documents, something like business requirements or something, some sort of documentation is essentially needed for us to perform. So these are the documents which are required for us to perform. That is with very limited context. I don't say this is more required for a person who wants to become a business analyst, focuses more on the business requirements, all that. But a person who is coming from data analyst and all everything, they doesn't really require to have this business requirement knowledge, all that. They should have a knowledge over the data related stuff, all that. At the same time, we need to have an experience in examining the reports as well as performance metrics, so that examining the reports and identify the kind of errors which are being involved in it, which are being identified, all that, to fix the coding errors and all that. Examining the reports is required. Next, at the same time, we need to evaluate the data so that we can establish the kind of value quality. What is that we have discussed with earlier? This point we have discussed already. At the same time, set up and maintaining automated data processes is also one of the responsibility. So being a data analyst, what is that you there is roles and responsibilities to make it in short is to have the experience to evaluate the data, interpret the data sets, at the same time identifying and evaluating the external services, followed by data validation and as well as cleaning. Followed by this, we need to have an experience to create dashboards, graphs, visualizations, all that. At the same time, how to examine the reports. At the same time, how to evaluate data to establish value, quantity, gathering different documentations, business requirements, all these. So these are the basic roles and responsibilities being a data analyst one must be good with. There may be few more other, depends on the kind of experience, depends on the kind of industry, depends on the kind of profile we carry based on the experience. There may be some slight variation, but standard to understand it if you want to become a data analyst. So these are the roles and responsibilities one must be good with. So this is what the complete picture over data analysis. Now when we are talking about the career opportunities nowadays, see, this is very simple for anyone to understand as far as the data analyst role itself is concerned. Irrespective of the technology, irrespective of the domain, every organization have their business process, right? Every organization, you can take banking, finance, healthcare, retailing, right, supply chain, logistics. You can take manufacturing sector, any sector across the world, irrespective of the sector, whether that sector, whether the industry or as well as the company organization is small, medium level or higher level organizations. Every organization, in order to manage their business performances and all, they require some statistical evidence as well as the technical and as well as statistical evidence is essentially required. So when there is a statistical evidence is required, so there is some concrete information in reference to the output, what is that they need it. So for that, there must be data is required. So data has to be analyzed using different scientific methods of statistical tools. Something either it could be R programming, it could be Excel, it could be Python or whatever it is. So or to create dashboards and all, it could be a data visualization, whatever it is. So these are essentially common for any of the industry. This is nothing to do with technology. This is nothing to do with domain. Analyzing the data, there are people required to analyze the data and to provide a clear information about the process as well as the understanding of the present condition. Based on that, whatever the business decisions and all, everything will be taken by the organizations, by the management and all, everything will be followed by. Hence, what is that we should understand here is that as far as the career opportunities I am talking about, as far as the career opportunities itself is concerned, data analysis has a standard career which will be continued for a very long time, right? So because, but major thing is that you should understand core basics of data analysis and one must be good with minimum skills at least, because expert everything over a period of time if you are working you will be getting it. But at least to start with, if you are a career into data analysis, it has a long career, of course. So wherein move on to data analysis, followed by this either you can move on to the next role called data scientist and all that. So this is where general career progress will be there. So because most of the people will have a doubt over, right, what is the career path, right? We have any kind of career path or career progress there or not, because they might have a feeling that is this career won't get any have any growth, or is there any career growth and all for data analysis. So as long as business exists across the world, there are some business decisions to be taken. If you want to take a business decision taken to be taken and all, there must be some concrete evidence of final output should be there. So for the data should be analyzed. So for the data analyst opportunities will be there across the world. Sometimes depends on the kind of market conditions and all. Sometimes it will be slightly varies, right? So it fluctuates from here to there, but it will not be over, right? So data analyst careers will be there all the time. So this is what the basic understanding, this is what the basic intro session which I have taken today. And the remaining points, of course there are few more points I need to discuss about data analysis, which I am going to discuss in the next session. Okay then, guys. See you then. Bye.